Welcome to the Hastings Shadmehry Show with your hosts, Andy Hastings and Mali Shadmehry. Dive into the heart of family law as Andy and Mali bring clarity to legal challenges, celebrate client victories, and share the wisdom of their combined expertise. Get ready for a journey into empowerment and advocacy right here where your story matters.
Hello, and welcome to the Hastings Shadmehry Show, where we delve into the heart of family law and the stories that shape our lives. I'm Mali Shadmehry, and I'm alone today. I don't have my partner, Andy. She's actually working on a case at the moment. We had an emergency, and that's what happens in family law. Family law is one of the most sort of volatile, I think, areas in the law. Every day is like Jerry Springer. You have no idea. Every day is like a new Jerry Springer episode. I mean, anything can happen at any moment, and it really takes a special kind of person to actually love family law. So that's what I'm actually going to be talking to you about today. So congratulations. You get to hear Mali Shadmehry have a conversation with herself, which I do all the time. I actually do have someone here with me. It's my dog, Stormy. She's under the table. I'd love for her to show her face for you. If you look at me on Instagram, you will see her everywhere. She thinks she's a lawyer. She comes to work with me every day. She is a little diva girl. That's another story for another day. But since she was 8 weeks old, she's been coming to a law firm. She believes she's a lawyer. But before I begin on sort of what I'm going to talk to you about today, I'll tell you, I'm feeling like a warrior, not a diplomat. If you know us at Hastings Shadmehry, our tagline is warriors and diplomats. We picked that because family law, you got to be both. You have to be both a warrior and a diplomat in order to be good at this. You have to be able to go fight and protect people. And you have to have that fire in your heart to want to do that. But you also have to be able to be logical, make smart decisions for your clients, take the emotion out of something that's so emotional for your client, help them make strategic business moves for their life and for their children. So we always joke that I'm more of a warrior than a diplomat, and don't get it twisted. I like to settle my cases. I like to bring my clients to adequate conclusions and efficient conclusions, but I like a challenge. And that's just how God made me. That's how the universe made me, whatever you want to believe. That's how I was put together, is I need to be challenged. And that's going to segue into what we're talking about. So I'm going to talk to you about why I became a family law attorney and sort of what's in my head and what's in my heart. And it should explain to you why it's so important to have an advocate, have a family law attorney, that their heart is in what they do. And you should be able to feel that. You should be able to know when you first meet with your attorney, like, oh, they get me. They're trying to connect with me. Their energy is meeting mine. Their energy is making me feel safe and protected. Oh, she's smart. She can articulate the things that are jumbled up in my mind. She can listen to the jumbled up, crazy, emotional, scary things, and she can make reason out of it. That's what you need to be looking for when you're looking for a lawyer. And for family law attorneys, like I was saying, family law, it takes a special breed of attorney to want to do it and to be very good at it. Anytime I hang out with other lawyers that don't do family law, they're like, why did you pick family law? Like, that's horrendous. And in my head, I'm like, why didn't you pick it? You could never sit me at a desk all day as some corporate attorney and have me draft agreements all day. I would get in so much trouble. I'd be so bored. I'd hate it. I need to be in the courtroom. I need to be active. I need to have people needing me. And that's what's in my heart. So here we go. Here is how I got here. I knew that I always wanted to be an attorney since I was really young. It was either that or a horse trainer. LOL. I'm a horse girl. Make fun of me all you want. Horse girls are the best. I actually want to get a horse soon. That's a life thing. I'm working on balancing my career with my personal life. So I have always been a horse girl. I did eventing, dressage, jumpers forever growing up. And I need a horse back in my life. And I just want to trail ride and have fun. And that's something that I'm working on. That was a tangent. So 5 years old, I'm like, I either want to be a horse trainer or a lawyer. My grandpa was a lawyer. And my baba on my mom's side, he was just the most charismatic, gentle, smart individual, just leader for our family. He was an amazing attorney. He knew more in his pinky finger about the law than everybody. So I had a great example growing up. And over the years, I was really good at reading and writing and public speaking. That's one of my favorite things. I like to speak. And I'm also a good listener. I just like to engage with people. And so I just kind of knew it was my intuition. And I believe everyone should follow their intuition. I believe those little tiny pings of things that you want, that you feel, that you kind of, you're like, God, I wish I could have that. That's real. That is the universe, the God, whatever you want to believe. That is something telling you, get out there, you manifest that, you can get it. So I knew since I was young and I followed that. And I was pretty good in school, sucked at math, got bored from time to time, but, did well enough. And I went to law school. I remember my mom sitting with me in like a Barnes and Noble parking lot when I was in college. And in college, I had a blast, partied a lot and worked out a lot. I was a marathon runner, blah, blah, blah. But I was just sort of like, I felt like I'm ready to go to law school. I kind of felt like college was a means to an end, just get through it and keep going to find your purpose. And my mom and dad were concerned, I think, about, hey, what are you going to do? Because I remember even in college, I was leaning more towards lawyer. I knew since I was young, but there was still this part of me that was like, should I go horses? Should I train horses and teach riding lessons and manage stables and do that stuff? And my mom and I had a heart-to-heart in the car, sitting in her van. And I'm like, all right, law school, because I can still ride horses on the side. And hopefully I'll have the money to, fund that rich sport. Little did I know I wouldn't have the time, but we're working on that. So we decide, okay, law school. And I'm a very fast decision maker, very fast. So it was boom. As we're talking about it, fine. I made the decision. Let's go. And we went and got me like an LSAT book to take the test to get into law school. And that was that. I did it. I did mediocre at it, went to law school. Loved it. I did get bored in some of the classes, but I remember slowly at that point, I didn't know I wanted to do family law, but I knew that law school was starting to change how I saw the world. I started out law school at one law school and switched to Emory Law School for my second and third year. And it was a game changer because I was educated by some of the top legal minds in the world, including on the areas of family law. And by the time I started my second year of law school, I already knew I wanted to do family law. So I focused my studies around that. And so my first year of law school, my world started to flip upside down. I started to see the world like a lawyer. And a good teacher will teach you that. It gelled with me in my second year of law school. I saw the world like a lawyer, but it does feel like the world is flipped upside down. That's all I can say. You see things differently. You speak differently. You read differently. You approach your life differently if you really want it. And you adopt the mindset, and I did. And so first year of law school, the main thing I was naturally good at was anything that required me standing on my feet and delivering, and anything that was like a fake courtroom experience, I was good at it. And I believe you need to do the things you're naturally good at. You need to capitalize on that. And if you're having fun and doing those things you're passionate about, you're using your talents to better, well, for me, my clients and then the world. As optimistic as that sounds, I'm kind of an eternal optimist as well. So law school, get through the first year. Here we go. Here's when I decide, okay, family law is it. I had fireworks. It was like a fireworks moment. Some people are like, ooh, I kissed the love of my life and it was fireworks and I knew we were going to get married. I haven't had that, but I have had, this is what I want to do. And it exploded in my face. And here's what it was. It was my first year of law school. And I had this boyfriend and we broke up. And for me at the time, it was just the end of the world. I was devastated, scared, maybe some similar emotions to what people going through a divorce may feel. Like, this can't be happening. Like, this is my everything. Like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Sorry, coffee. So I remember I had a meeting with my professor, Professor Jaffe. My legal writing professor. Shout out to her. I saw her in a restaurant recently and I told her this story. I was like, you're the reason I wanted to do family law. So I go into her office to talk about some paper that I did. And I'm immediately just crying, sobbing at her desk. And she looks at me and she's like, are you upset about your paper? And I'm like, no, just sobbing. And she's like, oh my God, it's a guy. And I'm like, yeah. And she whips out her drawer, her desk drawer. And she's like, sets tissues on the table. She's like, tissues, cookies. You want cookies? Here's cookies. And I'm like, no, I don't. But like, she makes me talk about it. I tell her what happens. And she's like, look, You are so smart. You are going to be so successful. You do not have time to let a man bring you down. She said, get up. You can do this. It's heartbreak. Learn the emotions and get back in here and focus. It was the equivalent of like, I'm a football player. She's my coach. She picked me up by the seat of my pants, smacked me on the behind, and pushed me back out there on the field and was like, go get it. And she used to be a family law attorney. And I thought, I want to be that for my clients. I want to be able to take them in their scariest moments where they're heartbroken, they feel lost, they feel alone. And I want to be able to be that steady force in their life that they can go back to know I'm safe. She did that for me, and it was so invigorating. I just knew right then that was what I wanted to do. I liken it to this example. One time I was whitewater rafting, and I got launched out of the raft, like I weighed nothing. And it was kind of scary. I'm a good swimmer. I'm a sporty gal, but I mean, I struggled. It was like, whatever, wavy water, whatever, rapids, whatever. And so another huge raft of people came and it ran over me. So I was like stuck underwater, and it was so scary. I truly thought I was going to die. I remember my eyes opening underwater, and I have contacts. I have terrible vision, and I had contacts in, and I'm like looking underwater, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to die. I was freaking out. It felt like I was underwater under that raft for like a million minutes. And all of a sudden I felt a hand grab me by the life jacket and pick me up by one hand and sit me back down into my raft. And I'm just crying like, oh my God. And it was the guide of my raft. It was like a huge lady, a beast. And she just bleep, put me back down. This steady hand while I'm stuck floundering in this current, feeling like I'm going to die. This hand grabs me, sets me down. That's what I want to be for my clients. That's where my heart's at. That's where my teacher, that's how she made me feel in that moment. I think about that a lot. And so that was my first year of law school. I then go through year 2 and year 3, and I focused my studies around family law and really learned a lot about how the American society has come to be as far as the family unit, that we basically modeled ourselves after Greco-Roman times, and we are remnants of that. I was infatuated with it, very interested in it. Some other stuff in law school, I would be like, oh my God, I don't want to draft a will. I don't want to do it. But that the family law gave me fire. And beginning to learn about, the dissolution of a marriage and a family unit, that's just a reality in the American culture. And yes, it's sad, but it's how our law is designed. And we're also a litigious society. We are geared around litigating. And there's ways to do it responsibly, and there's ways to do it in a way that will better future generations and create happier, healthier people, children coming out of divorce, and hopefully the litigants themselves. And so learning the fundamentals about how America came to where it is now in family law, and learning a lot of the background and these sort of ancient history, like how that impacted us and where we are today and how our culture changes over time. And to get to be a part of that was really meaningful to me. So I really enjoyed my studies and graduated. I also knew that family law, you don't want to do it if you don't like the courtroom. Do not do it. You're going to go to court. And I wanted something that was going to put me in court. I had a teacher pull me aside, and she's like, if you don't do something that puts you in the courtroom, you're losing. You have got to be in the courtroom. She's like, you have a gift. And I didn't really know what that meant. I was just like, okay, I enjoy doing all this, but we'll see. And anyway, family law I knew was going to have some action. I knew I would just get to serve people with some hurting spirits. And I knew it was going to be intense. I was warned not to do it because it's so difficult to have such a highly emotional clientele at all times. And as human beings, we're constantly absorbing energies that are coming at us. And when you give your energy to someone else, you are sacrificing something of yourself, of your soul, your heart, your brain power, all of it. And so it is a sacrifice, and you have to really want it to be good at it and to be able to stay healthy and still serve clients, because it can really take a lot out of you. It's grueling at times. And I also have plenty of experience working with past colleagues that their hearts weren't in it. And I know what that can do to a client in a case. And that's something I try to be very careful about at our firm, is having attorneys in this office who I would trust to represent me, because I know who they are as a human, their integrity, their work ethic, and more importantly, their desire to serve people that are in need of help. And they have the passion, the fire. It's like an it factor for a good family law attorney. It's very hard to find. And like I said, I've worked personally, even at my firm, with lawyers where I've been worried about that. Do they really want to protect somebody? And so, yeah, so, you got to want it. So what happens is I graduate. I immediately started a family law firm in Cumming, Georgia. That's where I'm from. Great firm. I had a good mentor who put me in the courtroom quickly, and I thrived. I loved it. And so here's what I'll leave you with. It's the story of my first trial. And that's when I knew I was in the right spot. But it's an example of, like, sometimes the scariest, not sometimes, most of the time, the scariest, most uncomfortable, most impossible feeling situations, when you tackle them head on and have the courage to do that, it creates evolution in your life. It levels you up. So this moment and this story in my life, truly, it set me up for what I was destined to do and serve people. So what we did was I prepare for this trial. Client very special to me. I won't get into any real details about her, but she's still a client of mine. I adore her. And so I've been practicing. This October will be 9 years. So it was about 9 years ago. I do this trial. I prepare the case for trial, but I didn't know that I was going to be actually up arguing the closing argument and doing some certain things in the courtroom. My boss at the time was going to do a lot of it, but she goes, "You can do it. Just do it." And I'm like, Huh? And it was all in my head, and I knew the evidence backwards and forwards, but hadn't actually stood up in court and, like, delivered like I did that day. But I'm so thankful my boss did that, because she knew that I was ready and I was able. And so what I remember is, and this is the moment I really remember. So we had gotten through the meat of the trial, and it was time for closing arguments. And I had never, ever done that. I'm somebody that, like, I like to be in control of what I'm doing. And I was panicked. We go to lunch right before the closing arguments. I can't eat. I'm sitting there, like, because in my head, I'm like, what I'm about to say, if I do this closing argument, it could change this child's entire life. If I say a word wrong, if I forget something, it could change her life and my client's life, of course, but the child. And that I was petrified. And when I go to court, I do feel like it's life or death. I do feel like I'm a doctor, if you will. I've got a patient on the operating table and they're coding. And if I don't get it right, I could lose them. That is how seriously I take it every time I'm in the courtroom. And I had that feeling for the first time that day. The gravity really hit me. And we're at lunch. Of course, I'm not eating. And my boss goes, "Well, why don't you just tell me what you would say then in the closing? Like, just get it out." Because I didn't have a piece of paper. I didn't have an outline. I was just like, oh my God. And I don't do well with outlines. I do only really well with things just being in my head. And I remember she asked me to just tell her, "What's the closing going to be?" And I was like, I couldn't even speak English. I'm sure we had an outline. In my head, I couldn't even use it. I couldn't speak English. And she was like, "We're getting through this lunch and you're going to do this." And I'm like, oh my God. So we walk back to the courthouse, Forsyth County Courthouse, my favorite courthouse, favorite jurisdiction. And I remember walking up the stairs to that courthouse and thinking, why did I pick this as my career? Why did I do this? Oh my gosh. And I made it up the stairs. We go into the courtroom. And I don't even remember what I said in that closing argument because it flowed. I didn't have to think. It came out perfectly without me trying because I was meant to be there. I followed my intuition. I knew this was my purpose. I knew that I was here to be in family law and protect people. And I don't remember what I said. I remember thinking after I sat down after that closing argument, I was like to myself, I'm like, I have no idea what I just said. But I looked at my boss and she was crying. And she said, that was perfect. And my client felt validated and we won. And I remember my boss saying, "Look, we might not win this. We're asking for a lot here." And we did. And I knew after that, this is it. I have to be here. I'm happy. This is what I want. And it's taken a lot of years for me to not be nervous going into a courtroom again. I'm now the president of the Forsyth Bar, that very courthouse in Forsyth County that I was scared to walk up those stairs. I now have a leadership position there. It means everything to me. And I think that if I could have you take any takeaway from this, it's two things. Number one, it's listen to your intuition in any area of life. And success is going to follow you if you have the courage to do that and do those scary moments and walk up those stairs when you feel like you can't even speak English. Just trust yourself, trust your preparation, trust your hard work, trust your intuition. And secondly, takeaway is you need a lawyer that is in it. When you are going through a divorce or any sort of a custody related battle, you need someone that cares about it like you do, that they're going to treat you like they would want to be treated if they were going through a divorce. And that's hard to find. And this is coming from someone that sees a lot of family law attorneys. It is hard to find. And trust your intuition. When you're meeting with an attorney, you should feel comfortable with that person. You should feel like they really do care, that they're connecting dots quickly that you weren't even connecting. A good family law attorney, they're going to be able to understand you from a psychological perspective. They're going to connect the dots with the law, and they're also going to be able to connect the dots of what's going on with your ex. They're going to care. They're going to be able to use all these skills, and you should be able to feel that. You should leave your first meeting with your lawyer feeling like, I'm safe and I understand everything. I think every family law attorney has got different stories. I can't wait for y'all to hear Andy's. But it's important that you've got somebody with fire. And that's all I've got. So thank you for listening. And please find us on social media, Instagram and Facebook at the Hastings it's just Hastings Shadmehry. Find us at Hastings Shadmehry. Find me on Instagram, Mali Shadmehry. See my craziness. And that's all I've got. We'll see you next time.